When we recite Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, the real meaning is, I go to the Buddha. Usually we interpret this, I take, but the real Gacchami means go. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Sarana, refuge. Why it is needed? This is a very controversial and difficult subject. So there are people who come and criticize. How can you take refuge in a religious teacher who is no more here? How can he protect you? How can he bless you? And how can he save you? But you have not prepared the answer. When others come and criticize and ask this question, you have no answer. That is the weakness. That is why I told you. Although these things are simple, you never think seriously to understand. I think you can remember some times ago I told you, one of our members, an elderly person, who had been keeping the Buddha image in his house for more than 40 to 50 years and worshipping and doing some offerings every day. So one day, a group of young Christian people visited his house and straight away pointed out, why do you worship this idol? What do you gain by worshipping a dead man's idol? He could not give any answer. Although he had been doing this for more than 40 to 50 years. Next day he came to see me and told him, yesterday a group of young people came and told me, actually I am worshipping to a dead man, idol of a dead man, and I don't know what to say. See how shallow, how poor your understanding. When others come and condemn your attitude, your belief, your practice, you do not know how to defend or how to answer. That's what Sumanasada mentioned. You practice this religion as a tradition. This is your tradition. Traditional religion. Without taking trouble to understand. Why do you want to believe certain things? Why do you want to worship or pay respect to an image? And why do you perform certain offerings? But you do not know. You have learned only this much. Now we are trying our best to enlighten you. Even then you never think seriously. Just listen, after that forget everything. This is the weakness in you. Please don't get angry with me when I say you. I am not referring only to these few people. You means all our Buddhist world. You. This is their attitude. Now let us take only this particular item. You recite in the Pali language. It is traditional practice. Although it is not compulsory that you should use this language to recite. You can use any language, no harm at all. You can say, recite this either in Chinese or English or Bahasa or any other language, no harm. But it is a traditional practice to say or to recite in Pali. Buddhang Saranam Gacchami. Although you have been reciting this from your childhood, still you do not know what you recite. The meaning of Buddhang Saranam Gacchami. But the concept, the belief, or the confidence that we develop in our mind by reciting this word can support us, to protect us, to guide us, to give us self-confidence, if you know how to analyze this. Although you cannot understand what you recite, when I was a small boy, it's about 5 or 6 or 7 years old, I have learned all these recitals. Still I could not understand the real meaning. But I have learned the purpose. What is this purpose that I have learned when I was young? This recital can protect you from evil forces, devils, ghosts, spirits, and so many external disturbances. So the understanding of this recital is not important. When I develop that confidence in my mind, so what I did, when I go out at night time, you know, when we were very young, our elders have told us all sorts of ghost stories and created that fear in our mind. Otherwise, we never gain such idea. So scared to go out at night time. But I heard, if you recite this, whenever you are in fear or some sort of insecurity feeling, recite this. Buddhang Saranam Gacchami. Then you are protected. So at night time, when I go out, always I say, Buddhang Saranam Gacchami, and but behind also is there any devil or ghost is following me, Buddhang Saranam Gacchami. That has become heavy. This gives remarkable confidence. We need something. Because our human mind is very, very weak. Not strong enough to face all those challenges, disturbances which come from outside. Very weak. That is why we need something. So many others use the word God. Whether the God exists or not, that is not important. I remember a well-known Western scholar, Anatole France. He says, if God does not exist, somehow or the other, we must create a God. Because this concept of God is very, very important for our human mind. He is right. Now people say, don't worry, God is above. He is watching. He will protect you, especially small children. They can understand only that much. They strongly maintain this, and then the fear disappears from their mind. And they feel they are protected. That is why he says, if God does not exist, we have to create a God. In reality, scholars, learned people, philosophers, psychologists, scientists, they say there is no such person as God. This is only a word, this is only a belief, this is only a concept. Yes, to them, that concept of God is not important. Because they can understand many things, what is happening. Those days when thunder and lightning started, and we do not know what is happening. And we were taught by our parents, you know, the gods are fighting there. We believe it. When the rainbow appeared, we were taught, do you know what is that? The God dropped that one to the sea to take water. Because after some time you can see rain. This imagination they maintain for thousands of years, until scientists have proven, explained how these things take place. But still there are many more things that we cannot understand. We refer to God for everything. But to certain scientists, psychologists, philosophers, great thinkers, rationalists, they have very deep thinking to understand, penetrating knowledge, to analyze things. To them, this belief in God is not important. But all the others, there must be something. Now we can replace this concept of God by reciting this word, Buddham Saranam Gacchami. The idea that people bring forward to argue, the Buddha does not exist, why should we take refuge in him, is useless here. Then who can prove that God exists? Is it not a belief? Is it not a concept? Is it not imagination? But the concept is important. In the same manner, whether the Buddha lives here in this world, on this earth, is not the important point. When we recall the Buddha into our mind, when we have fears, suspicion, insecurity, uncertainty, and lot of problems, worries, the darkness that disturbs our mind disappears. When we recall the Buddha into our mind by reciting Buddham Saranam Gacchami, now we feel the Buddha is within us. Buddha protects us. The Buddha saves us. Just like others say, God protects us. God saves us. They cannot argue that Buddha does not exist, because they also cannot prove that God exists. But the belief is important. Last night, after my talk, one of our members came to see me. He told me his experience, how he could manage to escape from so many problems and difficulties and the calamities and death also, and accident. So he says, he strongly believes that there is or there are God or Devas to protect us. Then I told him, I have mentioned in my talk the nature of this protection, how it can take place, how it really works, and what are the sources from the Buddhist point of view. I think you can remember. Now let us take the Buddha's life. You have heard this, but very important. When he was traveling with his old mother by a sailing boat, storms overturned the small vessel. There were few passengers there. And when this one was going like this, many people started to pray and pray and pray and worship to protect them. But this young man, the Bodhisattva, he has not started even to work to become a Buddha at that time. He was a very brave man, courageous. Then this one is overturned. His idea was to protect his old mother. He could manage to get hold of the mother and keeping the mother on his back and started swimming, but cannot see the land. Do not know which direction. But he did not give up. Struggling, swimming and swimming and swimming. But he does not know which way. Where is the land? Cannot see. When he was struggling like this, he got information. He was directed by a strange, unknown voice. You must swim directly in this way. So when he was swimming and swimming, he found out the land, landed, saved the mother and his own life also. And what is this voice? One of the Devas, guided. And who is this Deva? Now there's another important thing for you to learn. Some of our departed relatives, father, mother, grandmother, grandfather, or anybody, who have accumulated enough merits to be born as Deva, they can remain for a long period. Although they have separated physically, but still they maintain their mental relationship, communication. Sometimes they appear in our dreams, communicates. That is why we always remember our departed ones when we perform some meritorious deeds. We invite them to share our happiness. That is called transference of merit. Then we renew our relationship, communication. When they come to know that we remember them, we have not forgotten them, strengthen this relationship. So they keep an eye on us. When we are going to get into trouble or we are in trouble, they come to our aid to support us. That is the only thing they can do. And this is the Buddhist concept of belief in God or Devas. They cannot give us wisdom. They cannot give us knowledge and understanding. They cannot save us. But in worldly way, they can provide certain things to protect us, to avoid, to escape certain misfortune, accidents, difficulties. So, this young man started to think very deeply after this incident. Just because I used my full effort, even without praying to any God, I did not pray to anybody. I used my effort. But God came to support me in appreciation of my effort. Then he thought, why not I develop this more and more and more? Not only to save my mother or few people, to save others also. Now that is the very day that he implanted, created that idea of becoming a Buddha. Before that he never had such idea. So it is mentioned that what he has created in his mind at that moment, Buddhoham bodhayissami, one day I must become a Buddha. For what purpose? Muttoham mochaye pari. The main purpose is to pave the way for others to find out their salvation, to save them. They are struggling here and there, not knowing what to do, how to get rid of their worry. But by becoming a Buddha, I can save them in this way. Why? Why is it necessary to save them? Buddhoham bodhayissami, Buddhoham moche pari, Tinnoham tarayissami. All these living beings here in this great oceans of samsara are struggling here and there, not knowing what to do, which way to go. By maintaining wrong concept, wrong belief, wrong ideas, practicing wrong methods, they do not know how to get rid of this. Sansarobha mahabhaya. You know this word, mahabhaya. The ogre, whirlpools, the water, or the storm, waves in the great ocean of samsara is mahabhaya, very, very dangerous. And you get into this whirlpools, go round and round and round and round and goes down. And that is how we get into trouble, because of our ignorance. because we don't know how to get rid of this. This is the determination he made in his mind. So he went on developing and cultivating life after life until he gained this enlightenment. So recalling this belief or the image of the Buddha in our mind, when we feel some sort of insecurity feeling, it really works. We need something, just now I told you, because we cannot understand that. We have strong belief about devils and ghosts and Hantu and but don't argue whether God really exists or not, whether the Buddha really exists or not. Not important. What we need is something to occupy our mind when our mind is very, very shaky, very uncertain. Then the mind gets courage to face the challenge. And the fear disappears. Gain more confidence. Then we become normal. Now you can understand why we recite Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Whether you can understand the real meaning of course, if you can understand, then you can analyze. The meaning of this word, the Buddha. What is Buddha? What are the great qualities and the virtues and the characteristic and the wisdom and enlightenment? Then you can go on analyzing. Then you get more and more confidence. Unshakable confidence. Nobody in this world who can shake your confidence. If you recite this Buddham Saranam Gacchami through that understanding, realizing, analyzing the meaning of this word, the Buddha. That is minor thing, but you can enlarge, analyze, to gain more confidence and understanding. I think it was 9 o'clock. So, it's better to close it. Enough. Akasattha ca bhummattha devānāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā cirang rakkhantu loka sāsanam devo asatu kālena sassa sampatti hetu ca pīto bhavatu loko ca rājā bhavatu dhammiko idam ho ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo imina puñña kammena māme vāla samāgamo Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. I thought that I can escape tonight. It seems Reverend is very tired. He whole day, yesterday he was at the airport in Sri Lanka. And arrived here I think about 3 o'clock at midnight. So he's very tired. And what he mentioned here just now is a very important sayings of the Buddha in Dhammapada. The nature of our human mind. There are many discourses given by the Buddha for us to understand how forceful or dynamic and mischievous, uncontrollable, dangerous and useful this human mind. The minds of all the other living beings in this universe, all of you know, there are animals, spirits, ghosts, visible and invisible living beings, devas, brahmas, categorized into 31 groups in the whole universe. But when you compare the human mind with all the other existing living beings in this universe, human mind is more energetic, dynamic, a stronger force in this universe. In another occasion, the Buddha says, there is nothing here in this world that I can compare with the human mind, that which runs so fast. Now, the only thing that we can point out is the lightning. We have no time to see. When you want to see it appear and disappear, it's gone already. But the nature of the human mind, if we are going to compare with lightning, is more than 1,000 times faster than lightning. This human mind can run. This human mind can run all over the universe, not all here in this planet, within a fraction of a second. There is a dialogue in Milinda Panya, a well-known book, between a king and a scholar monk. The king asked a question. A person who dies here and will be born in the same KL town. Rebirth take place in KL town. Now, another person who dies here, then after his or her death, rebirth take place either in America or China. But both of them died at the same time. And the argument is, which person's rebirth has taken place earlier? Whether the one who was born in KL or the other one who was born either in China or in America. What is your answer? Which is more closer, KL or China? What is your answer? What? How can be that? See the distance. The mind must run. How can you say at the same time? Any other opinion? This is the nature of human mind. For our rebirth, distance is immaterial. We cannot measure in that way. Then, those devas who live in various other planets, celestial kingdom, and human beings, how they communicate their mental relationship, and how do our departed persons who are born in spirit forms or as devas communicate with us. Although we have no physical or elemental connection, but mental relationship still communicates. There are various indications for us to understand that they are really working. So when we think, when the mental vibration started to spread, transmit, a spirit devas and many other invisible living beings who have very sensitive mind catch only mental vibration, because sound vibrations runs later. Light, sound, these two things runs later, but the mental vibration goes first. So it is not necessary for us to talk to devas and spirit. Words mean sound vibration. But when we create, the very moment when we implanted the concept or the idea in our mind, those living beings catch the sound vibration. Sound vibration is a mental sound. Of course, when we utter something, sound vibration also, natural sound vibration also reaches. To study this mind is a very difficult thing. I remember one Western scholar from Lancaster University has written a book in 1930. His name is Mr. Strater. He says, we Westerners glorify about our scientific achievement and discoveries. But when you study the Eastern philosophy, especially psychology, which was originated in India, especially the nature of human mind, we feel we are still in infancy stage. That means we do not know anything about human mind. Now let us take well-known psychologists, Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, William James. There are many others, parapsychologists. They talk a lot, they have written a lot about human mind. But they do admit they know only this much about our mind. They say, mind is submerged. It is just like a huge iceberg which was submerged in the sea. When we touch, observe, we can see only little bit of this iceberg on the surface of the water. We know only this much about our mind. We do not know what is behind, below. Buddhist philosophy explains this clearly. No any other philosophy where you can understand the nature of human mind. What is that? Alaya Vijnana. Alaya means house. Vijnana means consciousness. A storehouse of consciousness. We have very big storehouse of mental activities. We do not know. And we do not know how to make use of this storehouse of consciousness. Why? This consciousness, all these mental activities were eclipsed, covered by our own ignorance, imaginations, misunderstanding, and various other mental defilements that we have developed in our mind completely closed. That is why we cannot see things properly. We cannot understand things properly. Always a wrong identity, misconception. To cleanse this mind, what we have to do, we have to stop our mental activities. How to stop? There are 5 doors which bring so many external objects into our mind and stir the mind, pollute the mind, add more and more dust into our mind. Then, a stop for the time being, close all the 5 doors. Now, mind is alone. Right? Although there are no external objects to disturb the mind, mind itself creates mental imaginations. Again started to disturb the purity of the mind. So still we cannot cleanse the mind. To avoid this, we must give a suitable object for this mind to hold on. Fix the mind. That is called one-pointedness, mindfulness. These are very important words. Now, mind cannot run here and there. Mind cannot bring external objects. Mind is occupied with only one particular object. If that particular object does not disturb the mind, does not create temptation or irritation, then we can calm that mind. Because now it is boiling, 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 boiling. So many things are there. How many worries are there in our mind? The temperature increase in the mind. What sort of jealousy, anger, enmity, grudge we maintain in our mind? Boil our mind. Our hatred, enmity, always boil our mind. When the mind is boiling with one of these bad elements, no one can see the clear picture of anything in this world. Take for instance, when a water is boiling in a pot, go and peep. See whether you can see the reflection, shadow of your face in that boiling water pot. Can you see? Why? Because water is boiling. So you cannot see your face there. So in the same manner, when you are angry, when you have jealousy or grudge, or when you are crazy for certain things, you never get the sense of reasoning. Your mind is misled. Your decision, your judgment is wrong. You should never take any hasty conclusion when your mind is at that juncture. Allow that water to cool down, and no more fire to boil this water. Now go and peep. You can see the face, your beautiful face there. Because water is not boiling. Because no more anger, jealousy, grudge and evil thoughts or enmity in your mind. That is why it is necessary for you to give an object, suitable object to your mind. Whenever you have worry, you worry for nothing. You worry creating imagination. You worry creating unnecessary fear, suspicion. The best thing is, give an object. Then what is the most important object for you to give, for your mind to hold on, when your mind is in tension or insecurity feeling or fear, suspicion? Can you suggest a suitable object? What is that? Who is that? Any suitable object? Mr. Khan pointed here, the Buddha image. The Buddha image is the most suitable, practical, meaningful object. Why? If you have an image, look at the face. There are many historians, scholars, philosophers, freethinkers, even agnostics who hate religions. What they have said about this image. They say, although we have no religion, although we do not worship and pray to this image, when we look at the serene face, the serenity, cheerfulness, calmness, we can forget our worries. We can get rid of fear, the insecurity feeling. When you concentrate, we feel that we can gain our protection, precaution to avoid our disturbances. Then when you create such feeling in your mind, you strengthen your mind, fear disappears, create some sort of inspiration in your mind. With your devotions and confidence, you calm your mind. You have forgotten all your worries and fear and all these problems. At that time, you maintain purity in your mind. The time that you spend, that is one-pointedness. The former Prime Minister of India, Mr. Nehru, when he was in the jail for many years, arrested by the British government when he was fighting for the independence, he says, at that time he was the most miserable man in the jail. There was nothing to console his mind. But he says, fortunately, he had a small Buddha image in his pocket when he was arrested. So what he has done, every day, either in the morning or evening, he take out the small image, keep on the table, and sit down in front of the image and concentrate, look at. And he says, now, this is a great man. He has more problem, worldly problem. In spite of all these worldly problems and troubles and difficulties and jealousy and enmity, he can maintain cheerfulness, serenity, peace in his mind. I am not a great man. I haven't got so many problems and worries and disturbances and enemies. Why not I follow this man? Why not I follow his footsteps? When he said he could manage to forget his disturbances, his worries, to make up his mind, to create more confidence. This is the real meaning of Buddhaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi, my dear friend. Buddhaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. I take refuge, or I go to the Buddha. The real meaning of the word, I go to the Buddha. Gacchāmi means going. I go to the Buddha. Whenever I have such fears and worries and suspicions and jealousy, enmity, grudge and all the evil forces, I go to the Buddha. Because the Buddha's face gives all the confidence for me to get rid of my worries and problems. So, this Reverend just now mentioned that young monk who was training his teacher. Earlier he offered a piece of cloth that he received from his relative, but the teacher did not accept. He was very unhappy about that. He might have thought that teacher is not in good terms with him. That's why he did not accept. So he decided to disrobe, go home, get married, and after having one son, one child, I must come and see my uncle. This monk, teacher is his uncle. With my wife and child, I must come and pay my respect to him. On the way, my child started to cry. Oh, he is creating all these things in his mind. When the child started to cry, my wife keeps quiet without consoling this poor child. And I am the one who drives the bullock cart. If I try to catch this child and console, we may get into trouble. So he lost his temper and he wanted to beat his wife, because a man who drives a bullock cart carries a stick to beat the ox. So I beat my wife for not consoling this child. At that time he was holding the fan. He beat the monk's head, poor old man. Then the old monk is an arahant. He knows this young monk's mind. Then he asked the old monk, instead of beating your wife, why do you beat me? Then he remembered, what a pity, I beat my teacher. So, because of this incident, the Buddha had to point out, this is the nature of the mind. We can make enormous mistake if the mind is not trained. If you have not trained to be mindful. Mindfulness is not a religious subject. It is not for us to meditate or to practice a religion. In our day-to-day activities, mindfulness is the most important thing to avoid mistake. Otherwise, especially when we deal with electricity, if you do not handle things mindfully, our life also gets into trouble. We may destroy others' life also. I can tell you what happened to me on many occasions due to lack of mindfulness. Of course, they are not very dangerous things. Because sometimes when I am doing something, go on thinking something else. So when I go to shave my beard, I keep my toothbrush and shaving cream in the same place. So while thinking something else, I take toothpaste and apply in the toothbrush and apply here, everywhere, toothbrush. Still I cannot understand. Then I take the razor and he cannot see something wrong somewhere. Then I come to know, I apply toothpaste here. This is the danger of thing, the situation, if you do not develop mindfulness to do our work. When you read Satipatthana Sutra, the way of mindfulness, what the Buddha says, not necessary to be Buddhist, not necessary to meditate, not necessary to sit down. Gate, thite, nisinne, sutte, jagarite, sampajanakari hoti. So whatever you do in your day-to-day life, while sitting, walking, sleeping, eating, drinking, even talking and thinking, also be mindful. Do things mindfully. Then, while doing this, you can go on training, taming, developing, purifying and purifying. And these are the methods for us to practice. The mind is such, we cannot trust our own mind. Then how can we trust others? I cannot trust my own mind. It is true. Take for instance, today I decide not to do something. Right, very strong determination. Now this is the nature of mind. So thank you very much, sir.